cat in the wall, eh? Okay, now you're talking my language.
Do you ever drunk Baileys from a shoe?
Oh, great. Thanks, Mother, for replacing the baby aspirin with LSD.
All right, welcome in, and it's time for a big game week here in the shoe. Saturday, Ohio State, Penn State. Your boy's jacked, ready to run through a wall, but we got to talk about Purdue first. We almost made two separate podcasts. We're like, no. Penn State's not our actual rival. They don't get their own podcast. So we will go back over the 41-7 whooping the Buckeyes put on the Boilermakers Saturday in a not-so-scary trap game. But, Dyerwolf, how you feeling this week? Are you ready for James Franklin to stumble on in here and be an oaf again, hopefully?
Oh, I can't wait. But watching that game outside of Peacock sucking with their broadcast, I was loving seeing. We kind of touched on it earlier before the podcast that first drive on defense did not look so great, although we didn't give up any points. Big thing going into the game, though, was we wanted to start out fast, and that we did. Mm-hmm. We had some big plays, chunk plays. I don't think it was the first drive, but later they really bringing in the wrinkle with Brown coming in. That really threw me off. I didn't expect that at all. Reminded me of the J.T. Barrett Cardale fiasco.
Let's not do that again.
Yeah. First, I was pissed. I'm like, we are not doing this crap again. And then it worked, and I'm like, well, maybe it'll be okay. And then, of course, he fumbles the next time, so I don't know if Day's going to shy away from it or not, but I like the idea because he is a hard runner. He seems like he can get that 1 or 2 yards. But the one thing I loved more than anything was the freaking QB sneak. We finally did it on a 3rd and short. I don't think it was 4th down. I think it was 3rd and 1, and we get it easily. Like it was like, I think we got 2.5 yards, maybe 3 yards. Like I want to see more of that.
Yeah, you don't need to reinvent the wheel in order to get a first down on 3rd and short. Yeah, like you said, Day brings in some wrinkles in the first half, especially bringing in Brown in the red zone, short yardage type situations where things get tighter. It definitely probably caught us off guard, caught Purdue off guard, I think, too. And it worked well, especially when we put in Dallin Hayden. We'll get to that in a little bit, too. But I don't know if that's something we just put on film for everyone else to see or if we're going to run it. I mean, Day's a genius. I'll put the genius in quotes here on offense. But he also he feel like he plays these mind games all the time. Like at the press conferences when he doesn't want to let anybody know who's hurt or who's not or who's playing or who's not. Could it be just something that he's messing with? I don't know. I don't think it. I think he's going to do it against Penn State. Like I think we'll see Brown in there, unless like you said, the fumble makes him shy away from it, because it did work and it helped out. And like I've said a million times over, it's hard to run the ball no matter what you got if you have a standstill quarterback out of the shotgun. Like if you got a pocket passer in the shotgun, it's just hard to run the ball. It has been since the dawn of time. You don't have the downhill advantage or the numbers advantage when that's going on. So. Maybe this is his answer to it, but like you said, we have seen this before with Cardale and JT, and it's not been necessarily a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, I will say it 100% helps the run game. There's no doubt about it. But eventually, if we continue to do it, defenses are going to know probably 90% chance we're going to run it when he comes in. Like he might throw it every once in a while, but I don't think he's going to very often. So I don't know. I think we caught him off guard. Obviously, there's no film on it whatsoever. So I'm thinking he does try it again in Penn State, but it might only be like once.
Yeah. Or maybe he throws the counter punch against Penn State and lets him rip it the first time. Out of play action fake. Defense, a little bit off on the first drive. Well, the run defense wasn't great all day against a team that's really bad at running the ball, and Purdue's a really bad running team. But it could be game plan, just some bad drives. Because it was mostly on like that first drive and then like the drive near the end of the half that they got down there. We go under because Purdue's kicker stinks to high heaven, especially early in the game when they actually should be kicking field goals, and he's missing them. I mean, Fielding finally misses a kick for us, though, so it could be the field and the weather related. It was a little slick out there. But all in all, you can't be too upset about anything you see. We jump out quick. We maintain the lead. We kind of stutter near the end of the first half, But then we come out and score 2 quick touchdowns in the second half. That sandwich another missed field goal, and then the game's over at that point. But we get to see Dallin Hayden out there at running back with both Mayan and Travion out. Travion more than Mayan, I guess. And Chip gets dinged up a little bit in the game too, and all of a sudden there's our man that we've been talking about for a couple weeks. We just said last week, where's Hayden at? Comes in, and as he always does when he's in the game, looks really good.
Every single time.
Yeah.
I can't remember a bad game he had. I remember being pissed he didn't play against Michigan last year, even though Chip didn't have a bad game. But I'm just thinking, Hayden basically won us the game against Maryland last year. Then we don't even play him. I get his thought process for saving the red shirt, but if you really think about it, what are the odds?
Make sense. It doesn't make sense. He's got to come back in 5 years.
What are the odds he's going to stay that long? Yeah. I mean, it's not going to happen. So screw that philosophy. He helps our run game. Play him. I don't care.
He might be the best running back on the team, running the ball. That's what Dave said after the game. I feel like every time Hayden does do this, he gets a backhanded compliment from Day, or Day says something yeah, he's at it, he said this time. Yeah, he's at his best when he's got the ball in his hands. So basically kind of saying, oh, he's not playing because the stuff that happens when he doesn't have the ball, pass blocking maybe, or just assignments in general. I don't know, but I'm well, again, I said this last year, the number one job of the running back is to run the football. So if he's the best one on the team at running it, let him run.
The thing I love the most about him is he doesn't screw around. He's
decisive, yeah.
Just freaking runs. He's gonna get 3 or 4 yards every time. He's probably not gonna break that 60-yarder like Trey, but I'll take 3 yards in a cloud of dust all day, baby.
I mean, he's not built like that either, but he's decisive and he's got good vision. I mean, that's a huge part of being a good running back. That's what I'd say is the weakness of Travion. If they could combine their forces, they would be a hell of a running back. And I'd be interested to see if the running game starts struggling again. Do they turn to him next week? Maybe Trey's back because Day says, I hope the whole I hope the whole running back room's back. Oh, do you? Do you? A guy that never actually tells us anything. You said that right. He literally said that exact same thing before we played Michigan last year, and then we're down both our starters in that game.
I will say, if Travion's healthy, I think I'm pretty sure he's still going to be the lead back. But I think Hayden really put some questions into who's second, and I think he played better than Trey and him did before he got hurt.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see. McCord looks pretty good again, especially considering conditions, but he's also throwing a little more off his back foot. There's some stuff I didn't love that I saw, but I'm not going to hammer him too hard because again, he's putting up solid numbers and leading the offense, and they're being effective. Defensively, we'll have an injury to talk about later, but pass rush is, while we did struggle a bit with the running, the pass rush was back, baby. 1.5 sacks each from Sawyer and JT. Sawyer finally gets on the board 6 games into the year, and Tyleik Williams has a couple of balls and bats down. So that's against what Purdue. The only thing they do well really is pass it. Held them to 14 for 35 passing, and hold them to 3 for 17 on third downs, which has been a bugaboo all year. So kind of exactly what you want to see heading into the biggest game of the year so far.
Yeah, it definitely gave me a lot of confidence moving forward. I mean, Purdue's obviously not a good football team, but we've struggled to run it and stop and get off the field on third down against worse teams than even Purdue. This could have been very different if we struggled even slightly in this game. I would not feel good going into Penn State, but now I feel like we're going to win.
Yeah. The only thing concerning from defense coming out, Denzel Burke gets hurt, which we barely know about because Peacock is freaking awful. And hopefully we never end up on there again, but we got to get used to it because we're going to be in the future. But who knows how bad. It didn't look bad. It gets banged into, rolled up on a little bit, but didn't look too bad. But we'll see, because of course we won't know anything until we're running out there on the field, because Day's not going to tell us anything.
Absolutely not. We won't know about Trey Henderson or Trainum or Mayan.
Yeah. One last thing I want to throw out. Forgot about this with the offense. Brandon Ennis finally gets in, our highest rated recruit, freshman receiver. First catch, 58 yards to the house. shows something that we don't actually like. None of our guys really have what he did. That play a lot at receiver. Now, not that it means he's going to get in there much, because he's clearly like 5th or 6th on the depth chart. But I mean, you never know. If we get down in the game, we need to go 4 wide maybe instead of having Stover in there all the time. Put in a guy that could take a slant to the house like he can.
Yeah, that was a nice move, and it gave Brown some confidence too, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Enough of that junk, though. Terrible team. We blew them out. Penn State played theirs, though, and blew them out even worse, 63-0. I mean, against UMass, but still, they're good. And it's finally coming to a head. What I called for since last offseason was that Penn State's going to win the conference this year, which they pretty much have to win this game with that in mind, because if they lose to us, they're probably losing to Michigan, too, even though it's at home. But this is probably the big one for them, where Justine Franklin finally get over the hump. They've come very close. They beat us once since he's been there, but only once, even though it seems like more. He's been close a lot of times, and they've played us closer than the spread almost every time, it feels like. Spread is 4.5 here, and the over-under is 48.5. And both of us said last week, at a weird moment of ESP, that in order for us to go over anything, it would have to be like 38, which it's not. So under is the play, I think, because these are two very good defenses. So what are your thoughts like initially before I start running out some stats?
Initially, I would definitely, 1 second, frog in my throat. Initially, I would definitely hit that under. I would not touch the spread. I was looking back to see how often we've actually covered against Penn State. It's been like 14, and I thought it was even worse than this, but last year kind of put a skew to it because we were in a 2-point battle with them late in the game, and then erupted and got that backdoor cover. But I mean, we had it's almost every single year. I think before that we missed like 4 covers, but won every time. So I wouldn't touch the spread. I'm thinking like a 21-17 game, which is right on that number. But yeah, I do think we win, and I think the defense is going to be the reason why. But you mentioned off the podcast how many sacks they have, which that is concerning. I don't like McCord's pocket awareness right now. There was a couple of times last week where he's just getting – I see this guy coming, I'm just like holding my breath. He did feel it once and spun out of it, but that does have me a little nervous.
Yeah. So we both have a top 7 defense. This is why I'm like, I want to throw a big bet on the under, assuming the Bills don't blow it for me tonight and I have money left. But Penn State, number 1 defense in the country, both yards per game. Sorry, number 2 in points per game. We're number 3 in points per game, number 7 in yards per game. But they're number 1 in yards per game by a large amount. However, it's been on the backbone of some really crappy offenses they played. I mean, Iowa, which they only gave up like 70 total yards. UMass this week, like in bad conditions. Northwestern, I mean, like the list goes on of just crap offenses they played. But they've done exactly what you should do, and that's completely shut them down. And they're number 1 by like 40 yards for yards per game ahead of Michigan. Scoring offense, though, they're actually 5th in the country in scoring offense, even though their yardage total is nothing to write home about. It's like upper middle pack, less than us though, yards per game. But they're averaging about 8 more points per game, which means they're taking advantage of the short fields their defenses gives them, not turning the ball over because they're getting all the points still, and making some plays in special teams, which they returned a punt this week. So it looks like not quite your typical James Franklin team where they're like kind of up and down and all over the place because their quarterback play. Aller has not thrown a pick all year. His stats are, he's got less yards than McCord, but other than that, they're very similar. But he hasn't been as good as I thought he was going to be, to be honest. So it's going to be interesting to see, can we rattle him? His stats on the road have not been that good, especially against Illinois. And he looked not great under pressure. So if these last 2 games we've been able to get to the quarterback more, maybe that's the big deciding factor. Is that what you think? Are you thinking for Saturday?
I think that's my key. I said that a few weeks ago that, when we played Notre Dame, they got that veteran quarterback and he doesn't get rattled. I mean, they were at home, so it's a little different. But this is going to be by far his biggest moment of his career coming into the shoe. if we can get pressure on him, get an early lead, and they can't rely on the run game, I think that's going to be huge. Our defense, maybe he's due for a pick. He doesn't have one all year. Maybe he's due. Like C.J. Stroud just threw his first one this week. But, yeah, I think that is key. If we can't get pressure, though, it could be a long day.
Very well could be. And, I mean, they're a balanced team, though, offensively, but they're not a good running. It's like they have 200 yards a game rushing, but it's not like their averages are poor. Singleton has not been very, very good this year, averaging like 4.7 yards, 4.4 yards a carry, I think. And Katron Allen's been better though at the 4.8. And I thought he was the better back against us last year. Singleton's more of the home run hitter, but this year especially, that's not what we're giving up. So I'm worried more when Katron Allen's in the game. But like I looked so I tried to figure out, okay, but they haven't played a lot of good teams. So I went to their Iowa box score. Their Iowa box score was insane. They ran 97 plays that night on offense. And they're not a hurry-up offense at all. But Iowa just never had the ball. And they ran the ball 57 times for 215 yards, which the 215 is pretty good against an Iowa team especially. But 57 carries, so they were like well under 3 yards a carry, or well under 4 yards a carry, which is not good. So they've struggled basically, I think, enough that I think we can contain the run game, assuming we can get off the field. But they dink and dunk a lot with Aller, and he's got a cannon. And we've been a little bit susceptible to that. Their tight ends are what they really like to go to outside of their leading receiver, the kid from Penn State. Was it Keandre Lambert-Smith? I had to get through all three games. He's got 31 catches for 402 yards. Other than that, their other receivers don't have – their second leading receiver that plays wide receiver has 13 catches, and then they have, like, nobody else up there that's catching the ball besides their tight ends. And then they like to throw to Singleton, too, but he hasn't been that effective. So it's going to be a big game for our safeties. And I would put – assuming Burke's healthy, put him on the leading receiver there on Keandre and see what happens. Because I do think we can hold him down, like you said.
Yeah, and we didn't really talk a whole lot about our offense yet.
Yep.
But I'm thinking, I don't know, Ibuka being out could be huge because then they can double down on Marv. But Marv tends to have really good games when we need him to.
He was great against Penn State last year.
Yeah, and he was great against Georgia until he got knocked out.
Yeah.
So I think I've said it before, same thing with the Notre Dame game. We have the best player on the field, and that could be the edge. But Stover, though, I meant to look. Is he leading the team in touchdowns?
No, Marv is.
Probably close.
He's at 3, so he's tied with Emeka. But he's got 23 catches for 359 yards already, which is like one of the best seasons in Ohio State tight end history already. We're only halfway through.
So he's probably, like, if you combined all the stats, he's our second best threat.
Oh, he is our second leading receiver in catches, yards, and touchdowns. So, yeah.
What's Marv at, 4?
Marv's at 6. No, 5. 5. Should have had 6. Also cost me a bet. I had him for 2 TDs, and he didn't quite get down on the second one. But they owe him one, though. I'm like, dude, you've taken away a couple from him this year. Just give him that one back because I need it. Because I have a problem. Our offense versus their defense, it's going to be the line of scrimmage is going to be, if they get through, they're 27 sacks already this year. They get to the quarterback. They get after it. They have NFL talent at all 3 levels. Kalen Keene's a first-round pick at corner. Chop Robinson's probably a first-round pick at D end, and their other D end actually leads their team with 5 sacks. Isaac. They got Carter at linebacker. Or Abdul Carter, sorry. At linebacker, they're stacked. They're really good. Like the numbers, they play bad offenses, but I don't think they lie at all because they got athleticism everywhere, and they've traditionally given us a lot of fits. Even since Day's best offenses with Fields and with Haskins, they held us well below our averages those years. Oh, yeah. I think it happens again. This is why the under is just so appealing. Like, what am I missing here?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems too good to be true. It's almost like you can't say ballsy territory because it's still pretty low under, considering we usually have a powerhouse offense. And you just said I didn't realize how good their offense was scoring-wise.
Yeah. It's not that good. It's just that they score points.
Yeah. The surprising part was that we actually lead the conference in passing yards. So I don't know. Maybe our offense goes nuts. And
it's not ballsy. So it's like dead nuts between their average combined points and our average combined points. The 48.5 is. Ours is like 45 something, and theirs like 52. So it's there, but I think, like I said, their numbers are inflated. Their points per yard is insane right now, so that can't keep up. Because the other teams they're near, like Washington, averages like 120 yards more per game than they do. Like, it's not real.
The only reason I can think maybe is just because of the unknown a little bit in the fact that they haven't played any good offenses. That would be the only argument I could see, I guess.
Yeah. And we have played some good offenses, though, and nobody scored over 17 on us. So them getting over 17 would be not surprising, but it'd be a pretty good feat by them. But us getting over 17 against them could be equally as hard. So I'll ask you first, so I don't start with the Debbie Downer. What do you think the score ends up, and what are you taking for the line and for the over/under on Saturday night or Saturday afternoon? Sorry, should be a night game, but big noon.
Yeah. I'm going with 21-17. So based on the line right now, that means we don't cover, but it's an easy under hit. The Notre Dame game against USC actually gave me even more confidence because, I mean, USC's defense is obviously trash, but now that's looking like a real legit win. If they didn't screw the pooch against Louisville, they could even sneak into the playoff, but that almost gave me as much confidence seeing them torch USC as how we looked against Purdue.
Yeah. My only worry is that the O-line just doesn't hold up, and McCord just doesn't play well enough. Like, he's going to have to force the ball to Marvin anyway, most likely. Does that get us in trouble because he does that? Can we run the ball at all against this team that's so good against the run? I don't know, because I just don't know about this O-line, and their D-line is really good. Like, that's a bad matchup for us. But I think we could be the other side, for a big road environment for Drew Aller, and he hasn't been that great yet this year. Could be a very tough day for him. I really think this is low scoring, and I'm going to take it. But I'm going to stick with my pick for the year. I'll say 17-16. We struggle in the red zone like we have from time to time, and even if the Brown stuff comes out. A close 1-point loss, but please prove me wrong, because I really hate these MFers. I really do. But I'm not going to back down from my stance at this point, because I haven't seen a reason. They're really good. They're a really good team, and we are too. And it's been 1-point games and close games have been the norm in this series. It'll be going on in the fourth quarter, and 4.5 points. I think that's just way too much right now. And the over, I think, is way too much. So under in Penn State plus 4.5 for me, regardless of the outcome, I think we'll hit pretty easily.
You got 16, so that's 3 settled, 4 field goals in the red zone.
Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked about that for sure. I mean, that's been our bugaboo, especially this year.
But who also knows? I mean, real quick, since we're just on it, these big games, coaching matters. And Franklin is an idiot. He just is. In game management situations, he's an idiot. And this is why we've won all these close games against him. But Day can be kind of iffy too, but that's every coach now. In case you didn't watch the Oregon-Washington game and watched Oregon's coach give up 3 points on 2 different occasions, just straight up 4 on 4th down. Casey, how many did they lose by?
They lose by 4?
No, they lost by 3 because they're idiots. I do not get this with these coaches, and I'm seeing a lot of support online for Lanning, and I'm just like, no, he lost them the game. That was stupid. It's a big game. It's a close game at the time that you're giving up these points. End of the first half, they get the ball for a second half too. So you get the field goal and the ball. What the hell are you trying to gain? Like, it's insane. It will, and they're like, oh well, hindsight, it comes back. I'm like, yeah, foresight. I was saying at the time, like, what are you talking about? Like, this is a bunch of people that play Madden that think this is, ruthless aggression. No, controlled aggression is fine. Maybe the 4th down he went for at the end of the game was okay. Make sure Penix doesn't get the ball. They win the game if they get it. But other than that, well, you're not gaining enough for what you're risking. And Washington even did it too, though, later on in the game.
Yeah. It's like, I don't think Day's ever going to go away from that, though. He's never going to kick a field goal when it's 4th and 1 on the
12.
on the other side of the 50. I don't think he'll.
Yeah.
And it's to win a game.
Yeah, but look what we're talking about. And this was Notre Dame too. We both thought low scoring game, and we were totally right. Low scoring game, points are precious. Take them if they're there.
Yes. Yeah, I want that field goal, 4th and 1 at the 20. And I don't think he's going to kick that field goal. I don't think 10 times.
But Franklin will do the same thing. This is what makes this game so interesting. And again, makes me lean towards the under because I feel like they're both going to leave points on the board. And I'm mainly hoping that Franklin's this game.
Yeah. He very well could. It seems like he does every time.
All right. As we do at the end of all these podcasts, though, after this past week, has your optimism for the Buckeyes national championship hopes gone up or down?
They've definitely gone up compared to where they were last week because we struggled with Maryland in the beginning of that game. Kind of pulled away late, but they went down last week, so now they're probably back up to right around where they were when we beat Notre Dame.
Yeah, and Maryland did Maryland this weekend. Thanks a lot for that one, too, for a bet of mine. They're still the same old Maryland. It turns out they are the same old Maryland. They're 7-5 waiting to happen with Mike Locksley as coach and always will be. I'd say mine stayed about the same because I'm just not sure what we saw was real or just Day just trying to throw shadows out of the changes he was making. But I like that the pass rush is getting home. Defense is making me think they're more and more legit, assuming they're all healthy and can stay that way. But some of like you said, Notre Dame going ham on USC makes it seem even more legit win there in the same environment, kind of. But we'll see. This week is really good. What's going to tell us the tale. If we can figure out a way to trestle it and win the game somehow, keep moving forward, baby. And my hopes would be like way up. But this is probably the worst I felt going into a game, I guess, besides Georgia last year. But in a Big Ten game, maybe the worst I felt, I can't remember when, because I felt confident in both those last Michigan games.
I felt like you before this last game, but now I'm back up to, I'm not super confident, but I think we're going to win. Before the Purdue game, I thought we might lose both Penn State and Scum.
Back to the Casey Dyer rose-colored glasses ways. I like it. All right. But that'll do it for this week's podcast. F. James Franklin, F. the Nittany Lions. Go Bucks. We'll see you guys next time.
Hey, guys. Whoa, big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.
A rich man's world.